Alright, so you're ready to start modeling in Blender, but you don't know where to start. Here's where you start. You're going to go ahead and click New. Get yourself a new file. You don't need to save that old stuff. We're going to go ahead and practice selecting some things real quick. Click, 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 left click, or right click, depending on what you have it set to. That's your preference. You can always check in your preferences up here in the top left, but it usually says upon startup of the program. We're going to go ahead and keep clicking for a second, and then we're going to press A to select everything. And now that has it all selected right there very nicely. And we can press X to delete that. And then we press D to confirm the delete. And we can press Control Z to undo anything we just did. Now, on to the next step. We're going to go ahead and delete that for sure. I don't like it. I don't want it. We're going to go from the top. I want a plane. I like it. Now this isn't the kind of plane you'd think, but to get this plane, all I did was press Shift A and add in a plane from the Mesh tab right here. Now, there is all sorts of other shapes, and you can even get more shapes to the add-ons in Blender. But we're going to keep it simple and keep it safe, or at least try to. You know, I always tend to overcomplicate things, but we're gonna brew this down for you. We're gonna make you a nice, delicious brew. One of the first things you should probably know is how to move your objects and edit them in particular ways, like rotating them, or scaling them, or moving them. Each of these are done with respective keys corresponding to R for rotate, S for scale, and G for grab. Now, you might think M for move, but G for grab. You gotta get your hands on it, get your mitts right on it, shake it about. What did you do with the rest of the polygons? We're gonna leave him alone for now. Let him know that he's okay. To get him back center, like I'm doing, to let go of the object, you right click. To move it to where you have it, left click. We're going to go ahead and undo our move and put it back to center. You want to understand how you're moving your objects. We have your transform pivot point. You have your snapping, which can be set to a number of things, but we're going to leave it on increment. And absolute grid point's pretty nice, but we're going to leave it off that for now, just so you're not getting too bundled down by too much here. We're going to go ahead and go into edit mode by pressing tab on our object. Now we can see that we can select different parts of the object here, and right now we're selecting vertices, but you can also select edges, which if you can't see it, they're these sides of your polygon here, and then your faces, which is the whole polygon itself. We're just going to stick to vertices for the rest of this example here, because I'm a big fan of them. Well, you know, we may use a face or two, or maybe an edge or two, but don't hold me to it. We're gonna go ahead and practice again here with our scaling, get some stretches in. Yeah, you always want to do some nice stretching before you start. And then now that you get your polygon nice and stretched, we can go ahead and select just two of the vertices. And we're gonna press E to extrude. And where do we want to extrude it? Well, I want to extrude it on this red line here. Well, that's the x-axis. We can move on the x-axis now. We're going to go ahead and just set it to 2 so it looks even with the first one. Because the first one is 2 grid squares. Right? Now we're going to go ahead and show what this green line is. This secret majestic green line up here is indeed the y-axis. We're going to move it up 2 on the y-axis. Boom. Look at that. Now, if you want to move something down on the y-axis, you can always go and let's go 2 on the y, and oh no, that's not the direction. Well, we can press our minus key to subtract that amount that we have already typed in. And now it's down there. We're going to go ahead and finish this off. So we have a happy plus mark here. Over here on the x, minus 2. And now that looks fantastic. I am very happy with that. Very satisfied indeed. Now, on to the next piece. You may want to rotate your things. That's a good question. How would I rotate it? Well, it's the same as when it's in object mode and you press R. Now, to get a specific rotation, you can type it in. So say we wanted to extrude, say 2 inches, meters, feet, whatever, 2 grid squares off this way on the x-axis. And we're going to go ahead and set it there. And then we want to rotate this up according to this. Well, we're going to go up here and select active element. And then we're going to rotate this right here along our actively selected vertice. But you can tell which one's actively selected because right here it's the white one. Over here, this one, if I were to unselect it and then reselect it, it would become the one we're rotating on as the pivot point. This is very helpful for getting specific rotations exactly where you mean to have them. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Oh my lord, not that. Yeah, we're just going to get rid of that outsider over there. And we're going to raise this according to this vertice on the Y, which is going to give us this box-like movement. We're going to do 45. Now if we look, it's moving 45 degrees downward on the Y. You may want to scale an individual part, which you can do by selecting the part you'd like to scale, whether it be vertices, an edge, or a specific face. Put face mode here. Now you can tab through these with 1, 2, 3, and that will help you become proficient at tabbing into the different modes and working with relative ease between each one of them. Should you want to add a face, you can always select multiple vertices and press F to form a face or a polygon between those vertices. You can also extrude from an edge or a face. You can repair holes by selecting all the edges around, or just the 2 adjacent ones that correctly cover it, and pressing F. Now we have a complete mesh there. We're going to undo all this and leave it back at the starting area. You may want to color your objects or put some kind of material on them. So we're going to try to show you how to do that real quick. And start this process, you're going to want to make sure you either have your rendered viewport on so that you can see something. We're going to tab back out of our object here and add in a light so we have some contrast here. Go down into our light object data, turn up that power a little bit just so we get some nice lighting on our material here. We're going to click back on our object, then we're going to go down to the material properties here. It may benefit you to see this alongside here, so go ahead and open the shader editor too. Now we're going to go ahead and click new material. And from here, we can set different properties of the material, make it more metallic looking, make it more rough, make it less rough, nice and smooth. Or we could completely change the type of material it is. Say we would like it to be a glass-like material. Okay, well now we have it to be a glass-like material. We can see the light reflecting off of it rather interestingly there. And lastly, you may want to change its color in terms of material. That's nice and red there. That'll do fantastic. But maybe that's not enough. Well, maybe you want a picture. Well, you can always go over to the right side of your color, click your little bobber here, and go to image texture. And now you will have an input for an image texture right here and over here in your shader editor. But for right now, we're just going to stay over here on the right because it keeps it kind of simple. Go ahead and open up any picture you'd like. We're going to go ahead and go to our desktop and open up a picture of this pier. And now you can see that the pier is on our object, but it may not be the way you intended it to be. Have no fear. Go ahead and set your editor to your UV editor. And now you are looking at a nice picture of everything you have. But let's go ahead and select all our scene up here while we have our mouse over our scene. And then go and press U for unwrap. And then we're going to go ahead and do Smart UV Project. Just for this example. There's different settings, but this is the quickest way to get the example across. Now, if we look down here in our UV editor, we can see exactly where the picture is going to be in concordance with our object and how that's going to look beforehand. If we go and tab out in our editor over here, we get a good look at it. Let's go ahead and turn up our roughness here. Turn up our IOR to get a little more light in the scene through the glass. And yeah, now we've got a rather interesting looking polygon here. This was just the basics. I hope this taught you something. If it didn't, leave a thumbs up. If it did, leave a thumbs down. Either way, I'm thankful you watched and have a good day.